Welcome back to KTN Prime. Thank you for staying with us. You're watching KTN, and we're set to evaluate the latest developments playing out in Kenya's political and governance landscape. I'm joined in studio by three legislators who will add impetus to this discussion, bearing in mind Parliament is set to resume from recess tomorrow. And key among the issues on their in-tray is a high cost of living, getting a way to alleviate the economic pressures due to the high fuel prices. And of course, the Finance Bill 2026 is in the periphery with the public participation having concluded today. So we'll get to discuss all that, including issues of ethnic profiling and the president's security scare that happened just yesterday, and what we saw after the changes in the security on the presidential escort unit. Allow me to introduce my panelists joining me. I'll start with John Kagushia, who's a member of parliament for Mukurweini constituency. Kagushia, always a pleasure to have you with us. It's been a while.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me here once again. Happy to be back.
Umepotelewa wapi?
You know, here you come by invitation.
So okay, we'll invite you more often then. You've thrown the ball back at us. Asante sana for your time. Equally joined by the seasoned legislator, Stephen Mule, who's the member of parliament for Matungulu constituency. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
How are the people of Matungulu doing?
People of Matungulu are well.
Yes.
They're just complaining because of the high cost of fuel. Border fellows say that the Matatu team threw them under the bus because diesel was reduced and petrol remained same high, and paraffin went up. So mtu wa boda mama mboga wametupwa chini ya bus.
I'm sure they've given you marching orders as Parliament resumes tomorrow, and we'll get to converse some of the solutions to this crisis, which is a global crisis, but we can apply local solutions, as has been said time and time again. Allow me to equally appreciate the presence of CPA Julius Ruto, who's a member of Parliament for Keses constituency. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much. I think this is my first sitting in this program.
Yes.
So I'll be making my current race statement. Well, I'm also here courtesy of the people of Keses and by large an extension, the National Assembly of Kenya, so that we're able to look at issues as you've raised. But first of all, allow me to communicate that as a fanatic follower and supporter of Arsenal, we are in celebration mood. I only wanted to dress well in the attires of Arsenal, but I realized Mule might have problems with me. I don't know. It might be Manu. I knew for you. For that reason, you're a Manu person who would have conflict here and there. But we are happy to be here and be able to share together the progress and the success of the administration that is in power, and where we are going, you know, the current situation and affairs of the nation.
Asante sana.
Thank you so
Looking
much.
forward to this fruitful discussion. It'll be the first of many. We'll be extending an invite time and time again, as Kagushia hinted. So, gentlemen, so much to talk about, but I'd like us to begin with some of the pronouncements that were made today by the former head of state, that is Uhuru Kenyatta. He was meeting delegates from Kiambu, hailing from the Jubilee Party, and he had a couple of words that have made it to the front page of tomorrow's edition of The Standard. Before we hear what he had to say, let's just recap what Kenyans will be waking up to tomorrow. The headline is all to do with Stop Blame Game and Work. President Uhuru Kenyatta faulting the Kenya Kwanza administration, saying it has abandoned its mandate and instead turned to blame games, praise singing, and dangerous ethnic rhetoric as households buckle under soaring fuel prices and punishing cost of living. Make sure you grab yourself a copy. But let's just listen in to what the former head of state had to say during that particular delegates meeting today. And of course, his reaction attracted sentiments from government-aligned leaders, including the Kapseret Member of Parliament, Oscar Sudi, who posted his rebuttal on his Instagram page. Let's just listen in to what the former head of state had to say.
Hawana haya wakiongea haya, wanaongea haya mbele ya wakubwa wa nchi, na wanasimama na wanaongea mambo ya kuchochea, mambo ya kulete vita, mambo ya kugonganisha Wakenya, na hakuna mtu ambaye anasimama hapo kusema msiongee vile mnaongea. Wanaruhusiwa tu waongee yale ambao wanasema.
We want to reject in total the attempt by Hassan Omar to apologize to the people of the mountain for inciting Kenyans against them. Hassan Omar is your Secretary General for UDA. What he is saying is your script.
Well, different bite, but we'll start right there. That's all to do with the ethnic profiling that has happened in the last couple of days, which has taken a downward turn as the UDA Secretary General faced backlash over ethnic remarks. We had opposition leaders accusing Hassan Omar of profiling the Mount Kenya region, even as Kalonzo Musyoka said Omar's comments are divisive and unacceptable. Mind you, the Secretary General has apologized over those controversial remarks he made in Mombasa last Thursday in the presence of President William Ruto. And that's what DCP leader Rigathi Gachagua was equally reacting to. So let's start with you, Kagushia, since you hail from the mountain. These public remarks that generate controversy often highlight the importance of responsible leadership, careful communication, and dialogue that promotes unity amongst Kenyan communities. Does the silence by the ruling class when those sentiments were made actually mean consent? Does it mean they were approved by that message was approved by the powers that be? You can't, because in public meetings, you can't respond to every statement that has been said in a public rally. I'd assume the president would be on the receiving end if he had to do that. So what do you make of such statements?
I know when you talk about the ruling class and the powers that be, I'm sure you're referring to William Ruto. And the two gentlemen who have just addressed this matter, Uhuru Kenyatta and Rigathi Gachagua, have also raised their concern about the silence of one William Ruto. When Hassan Omar talked, he talked in the presence of the president. Now, this president is a person who benefited a lot from the region that Hassan Omar now is besmirching, is prejudicing, and which is using ethnic bigotry against. This is a region that put the head of state, William Ruto, into power. Yet, the senior-most member of his political party, that is none other than a Secretary General, who rides on two cars, by the way, an escort car, a chase car, and then has a flag, is the one who carries a message for the political party in front of his boss, goes ahead to prejudice a whole community. And the president doesn't say anything bad about it. He keeps quiet, and he goes on with his business as usual. When you listen to Rigathi Gachagua, he has pointed out to a very important issue, that this message that was passed by Hassan Omar was not his. It actually was communication from William Ruto. Why do I say this? And why do we say this? And why do we think that this is the case? Just about a year ago, a gentleman by the name Dan Wanyama, while addressing the people in his constituency, did allude to a similar thing again. And he said that the Mount Kenya people, and he was clear on even the tribe, he could mention the tribe by the name. He said, this time around we are going to continue and we are going to make you lie like an envelope. And he said very uninteresting words in description of the Mount Kenya communities. Now, this is something that we have not taken kindly. We also understand that part of the matrix that is being played here, in fact, what William Ruto was calling the plan. At first, we thought it was an economic plan, and that is where we were supporting it, only to come and realize later on the plan was actually the Mount Kenya region, how to disintegrate it. That was actually the plan. It was funny that we had not known that that is what we were carrying in the bag that we were all escorting together with William Ruto when we were going to vote. Now, he has tried two things. First, he tried isolation, to try and isolate Mount Kenya from the rest of the communities. It has not worked. It has failed desperately. And we have seen other leaders join hands with the leaders from Mount Kenya region, and that has failed. Then we have the division of this region into smaller, fragmented units. That is again what he tried. It has not also worked. He tried to call it Mount Kenya East, Mount Kenya West, and instead what has happened is that prejudicing of communities is not right. It is wrong. And what Hassan Omar is doing, we understand he's not doing it on his own behalf. He's doing it on behalf of his political party. And that is why we also find it very hypocritical for members of parliament and senators who work together with William Ruto now to try and call out Hassan Omar, when in fact they know what they are doing, and what William Ruto is doing is to try and disenfranchise a society and a community that actually brought him to power. Now, we want to, and I want to support the remarks by Rigathi Gachagua, that we are not taking this apology. Hassan Omar must face the consequences for his utterances. Hassan Omar is not an ignorant person. He has been a commissioner in the Kenya National Human Rights Commission. So he has held an office that would necessarily make him understand what he was referring to and what he was doing. Now, he's not a first offender. This is not the first time he has done this. He has done this before. He has shown a lot of hatred towards a community. And this is also coming out because there's a bigger matrix that is being implemented by the ruling party. So we expect that he's going to face the consequences. It's not only Hassan Omar who has done this. We have seen other young people writing in Facebook that they are going to be repeating what they did in 2007, and we have not seen any action being taken against them. And so we can see there's a lot of tolerance on these kind of ethnic divisions and incitement.
All right.
That must be taken as very seriously.
So action means, should he be removed from that position? Should NCIC come and take investigations on the matter and forward the file? What does justice look like to you?
Of course. We don't care whether he's removed as SG of the ruling political party or not, because if that is really the position of the UDA party, then they have no business removing him. But he has contravened Chapter 6 of our Constitution. He has contravened many other articles of our Constitution. So we would have expected NCIC and DPP to have started investigations by now, and by now he should have been arrested and arraigned in court.
Interesting. Ruto, I'd like to bring you in because your political camp has equally pointed the blaming finger on members of the opposition for ethnic profiling, specifically Rigathi Gachagua for pushing the agenda of one region which might sort of cost other regions. Talk to us about what would you tell those who claim that whatever Hassan Omar said, he was simply the mouthpiece, he had his marching orders, and it's a message that was supported by his political masters, as Kagusha seems to imply?
Thank you. First of all, I want to know the value of an apology. Because the moment someone has accepted a mistake and say, fine, I was taken out of context, and for this purpose, since I've injured someone, I beg to apologize. I think every other time I've had people calling, please apologize and withdraw. The moment somebody has all remorsefulness, what the hell is, what other judgment, if not a sinister mind and twinning and twisting for this to sustain your political persuasion and agenda, because someone has said, yes, it is, I made a mistake, I was taken out of context, and I've apologized. But nonetheless to say, I think we must also be candid to ourselves. For me, I don't support, as a leader, ethnic profiling. We can differ on political beliefs, dimensions. We can contest on that. We are doing it best way in our Kenyan way, up to including supporting demonstration and everything. But we should not get to a level where we undermine a community or an ethnic group. I really don't support that one. And why am I saying that one? I should be also expecting my good friend Kagusha should have taken the lead and call out former party leader of NAK, Martha Karua, recently during the crisis of fuel in Kenya. She came out and tweeted and said, we are seeing the recurrence of President Moi in a context that is profiling a community, though that this community to be seen or to be looked at, that this community have no capacity to lead. You know, when you look at the leadership or the challenges that are happening across, which is not unique, it also happened during the time of Uhuru Kenyatta. You remember during Uhuru Kenyatta when he was saying, "Mnanisumbua na maneno mafuta, I'm not in Ukraine and Russia." You know, he came out bashing. You know, and it was not an offense. Okay. But the way Martha Karua approached it in a context is an attacking a community. I should also be expecting the same. And that's not the first time. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, there was a time he mentioned in a public rally, "Nyinyi wakale." So the moment you use that word, what are we saying? So we should all of us condemn it and say, please, we are Kenyans. Let's use the best words, the very civic words to contest. Number two, I was expecting to listen to the voice of Uhuru Kenyatta and someone to interpret what he said in his vernacular language. I thought Jubilee is a national party and he was speaking to the country. And it's not the first time. Even when he was president on several occasions, he addressed at State House, either Sagana, or when we were using an ethnic, a language that is of a mother tongue, let me call it, because I don't know whether it's a Kikuyu language or what language. What does that say of a person of a stage of that? I wish to know what words was he saying, because it can easily be taken out of context to mean that he was inciting against a given regime. And there's a word that said, I told you. He's a former president, a person of eminence. You know, any person who has served as a president with what the law has placed and is a person of eminence who can be called upon any time when the issues of reconciliation which are required. And he's speaking in a manner that is trying to excite an emotion is in a given direction. How far is it different from what we are calling out on Mheshimiwa Hassan Omar? Because the two gentlemen seem to be taking a given direction and harming followers from that dimension. And for the purpose of Uhuru Kenyatta speaking in a Kikuyu language, it means he's targeting his own community. So what language is he doing? What message is he taking across? Look at what has happened. Today we saw demonstrations in those regions of Mount Kenya against the fuel issues which have been addressed. We saw what happened last time during demonstration. Areas which were burned, properties which were destroyed from Naivasha. You can relate to a given community. The question is this: why are we profiling other communities using their own leadership for what gain? So if we have to call out all this, let's call out in unison and say this is wrong, so that we're able to move forward. And then now agitate on issues that are really issues that are touching. Like I heard Mule saying, the fuel is, the price is so heavy for border guys. I want to listen to Mule telling us how better can we do, other than attaching your people, either for your own gain or as a shield for yourself, as you point finger at the other one. I mean, if it is wrong, it is wrong, and two wrongs cannot make a right.
That's true. So in the spirit of fairness, should we equally call out President William Ruto, who at times speaks in his local dialect?
We can count, and even last time he said during the burial of father to the cabinet secretary Chirchir, he said, I rarely even talk in, but today, did. Let me say it because I'm talking to you. And look at that scenario. It was in a burial, in a specific gathering. And he requested to say, I rarely speak out. But I've never seen him in a very official state house or instrument speaking in his own language. Even when he was in Kapsabet the other time, he has to communicate the national issues in a national language. And if there's anything that he targets the population there, he has to pass, not in a lengthy speech, because he understands it's a symbol of national unity. And I don't understand the difference of Uhuru Kenyatta, who was a former president, who is still pushing political agenda through Jubilee. I don't know what else he left, which other plans does he have to be there living out there, the leaders who are there, you know? What is this?
Okay, he clarified his position today, but that's a story for another day. Mule, as you come in, add your voice to the sentiments that have been shared by the other panelists, but equally, is NCIC up to the task? Because today they mentioned there won't be any sacred cows, and mind you, this particular commission has just been sworn into office. They came in on May 2026, and they've hit the ground running, at least via rhetoric, but can they walk the talk? Should we talk about prosecutorial powers handed over to NCIC in order to make sure that hate speech is a thing of the past?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, the commission is toothless. And I will say that without fear of any contradiction. I had a privilege to serve in the Committee of Cohesion and Equal Opportunities in Parliament, whereby we vetted the last commissioners, we oversighted the last commissioners and the commission itself. And the commission is extremely toothless, extremely. Actually, we don't need it. What we need is to have proper laws being followed. Yesterday in Muranga, I said it very clearly that the direction the country is taking with the rhetoric of ethnic profiling is so dangerous. We need to take some of these fellows personally, officially accountable for, and petition relevant administrative organizations to deal with these people, to be an example to other Kenyans. They cannot take us back there. I totally agree with the two gentlemen. We cannot afford to go where we came from, and we know where it is. So I'm still pursuing the statement I made yesterday. We are putting up together the evidence of what can have come from Hassan Omar. And we petition ICC. And we also petition the Court of Justice in Arusha, so that he takes personal responsibility. This quote unquote of is carrying a message for others. Let be a lesson to other Kenyans that you cannot carry a message to for other people, and then you use the profiling of a community. But I have a different dimension on this story. My brother, the country is bleeding. And Hassan Omar was communicating a matrix strategy of diversion of view and ideas of what is happening in the country. What is happening in the country, it is so sad to be diverted in the manner Hassan has done it. And I want to, if you look at the clip where Hassan was speaking, it was a well-calculated messaging. The president was sitting, carefully listening. Who was the master of ceremony? A cabinet secretary, Hassan Joe. If you look at Joe when Hassan was speaking, Joe was smiling because the message of UDA matrix of diversion was being delivered to the letter. Why am I calling it a matrix of diversion? These guys have outwigged the common mwananchi. The cost of price has gone up. It's a global issue, we agree. But we also have a responsibility as a country to contain it and to bring it down. What did they do? Organize a demonstration with a cocoon of Matatu owners, outwig them very quickly, reduce the price by 10%. When the president comes back, reduce the price of diesel by 10%. 10 shillings. But the price of petrol remains the same. The price of fuel, of paraffin goes up. Who is being affected here? The border fellows. Have you ever seen a motorbike which uses diesel? No. The border fellows, the price of fuel is still at the highest peg.
Okay.
Who uses paraffin most, apart from the jet fuel? Mama Mboga. The cost of fuel for Mama Mboga to fuel his own small houses goes up. What Hassan and the team of the matrix of diversion by UDA is working for them is to get rid of the thinking of the cost of living, which is going up as the fuel remains high. Cost of fuel is still high to the common mwananchi, because if you reduce the cost of diesel, you are reducing the cost of diesel to Mule, Rutoya, Gakusha, and anybody else who is driving a bigger car because we are used
and farmers for tractors for information.
Yes. So,
in Ukambani.
So
and the
it
manufacturing
is,
sector
yes,
as
And
well.
the manufacturing sector.
The third thing which it's really pressing Kenya right now is the cost of education.
Okay.
And the last one is the cost of medication. And the worst part of it is the insecurity we are seeing and the feminine attack of our mothers and our sisters in the country. The issues at hand right now, it's the cost of living, cost of fuel, cost of insecurity, and how do we deal with those issues? Ruto here he wants to hear how we can deal with it. Why do you have to have VAT on fuel now? Why do you have to have a railway development levy hard value of fuel now? If we are serious, we get back to the house tomorrow. And I want to say this without fear of contradiction. In 2018, 2017, towards 2018, we had a similar situation. I moved a petition in the floor of the House to reduce all the cost of duties and whatever in fuel. And that petition was processed by Parliament. Parliament agreed with me, and we sent it to Uhuru Kenyatta when he was the president, and assented to it. And that was the first time fuel VAT was moved from 16 to 18. Now, what is happening? 16 to 8%.
Yes.
Where it is now.
Now, what is happening now is that William Ruto has decided to be the parliament, has decided to capture parliament and make those pronouncements to be seen by Kenyans as the only than thou. I'm sorry, William Ruto. Let's not capture parliament. Let this gentleman tomorrow we meet in suits in parliament and scrap all taxes on fuel and bring fuel to at least 170. And me, I'm very sure, if we scrap all those taxes right now, we'll cushion this country as we wait for the international things to settle, and we stop the blame game.
Simple, stopping the blame game, but I think it begs the question, if we scrap all this fuel taxes and levies, how do we fill that budgetary gap that has been left? Because we have a country to run, and I can see Bwana Ruto smiling right there, Mheshimiwa.
You know what causes me to smile is to say stop blame game, when the only statement is blame game.
No, he gives some solutions.
An elected leader, I would have wished him to give us empirical computation. And say, look at this. The cost of landing price is this. These are the margins. These are the taxes. This success is geared towards this. Some of them are direct levies, which have got direct application. Then he challenges and says, for this purpose, let us stop this particular expenditure. And he should avoid this generality of speaking to Kalari, saying, oh, there are a lot of expenditure on the current. He sits in parliament, and he should be able to tell us and extrapolate. This expenditure, we can seize this one. If it's development, stop this development. I'm sure they are targeting securitization, which has helped to unlock pending bills. I mean, continuation of roads, which just told last time. He said, no, stop this road, stop this Mau road, stop this particular road for now, until and when we come back. You know, that's a clear helping the nation. So that we stop this, we say stop blame game, but the way we communicate is still a blame game.
I think the good part of it, as we allow my brother Gagusha to come on board, is that I want to tell CBA Ruto that we have an opportunity as a country to reevaluate all those taxes, and he knows them. We cannot reevaluate them here at KTN. We'll reevaluate them in the floor of the House. I know what will happen. If that comes tomorrow, the evaluation of those taxes of fuel in the floor of the House, they will be called and told not to participate in that debate. That is the state capture of parliament by William Ruto and Kenya Kwanza
But
government.
how sure are you they'll be called not to participate?
It is not the first time.
Okay.
It's a double speaking anyway.
Kagushia, come in and let's speak solutions because Kenyans are suffering.
Actually, let's
there were
focus
parts
on
of Mount Kenya region that actually had transport paralysis today due to the high fuel cost, despite the Matatu stakeholders saying we should cease and desist, at least give time. I think the president committed that next month the diesel price will come lower by 10 shillings. Where does the solution lie? As Parliament convenes tomorrow, we've had a couple of proposals being fronted by some of your colleagues. Are they tenable? Can they actually give the reprieve to Kenyan households that is really needed?
Thank you very much. And I just want to also, as I answer that question, I also want to highlight to my brother here, the Member of Parliament for Keses, my good friend, by the way, whom I have also been to his constituency in the past severally.
Recently or when things were rosy?
Well, when things were
He's a UD elected
little bit
member
more
of parliament, and until when they decided to change the colors, is when things began confusion.
There's a time we had been visiting
No,
his
our brother is
constituency
trying to
with
run away from his brother.
Let's give
and
Kagushia
one
some
of the
time.
brothers who was actually uniting us was Johanna Ngeno. Myself and him and Johanna Ngeno, we were great friends.
May his soul rest in peace.
And in fact, when Johanna Ngeno died, the first person I thought about was him. And I wanted to ask him exactly what happened. Why did the aircraft crash when it was being piloted by one of the most experienced helicopter pilots in Kenya?
It's unfortunate accident.
Well,
Ngeno
when we
rest
are
in
talking
peace.
privately, there are other discussions we usually have that we can't have here.
Okay, back to
But I wanted
issues.
to tell my
I hope
brother
you are
here.
not insinuating that
My,
there was
I want to
something
talk
that
to my brother here and tell him that when Mother Karua was criticizing the policies by Moi, which he equated or showed the similarities with what is happening today, she was not criticizing a community. She was looking at the policies. And we need to agree when someone is criticizing policies and when someone is criticizing a tribe. I think there's a very big difference. I also wanted to bring to his attention that His Excellency the President, William Ruto, does speak in Kalenjin language many times. Even recently in Bomet, when he was persuading when he was blaming the Bomet people for not having registered as voters, even when they had ID cards, he spoke in Kalenjin. When he was talking about road infrastructure in the Rift, again, he spoke in Kalenjin. And when he was having an environmental conservation meeting in Elgeyo Marakwet recently, again, he spoke in Kalenjin. And he has, and I've just Googled here, and I've seen many instances when he has been speaking in Kalenjin. So you cannot say that speaking in Kalenjin language is a crime or it's being ethnic bigotry. No. Speaking in your native language is okay. You can speak in it as much as you want, so long as you don't try to trivialize and belittle other communities. So let me rest that one at that point.
Okay.
Then I want to refer to this issue of cost of living. The issue of how diesel has been increased in terms of the cost and prices is one of the things that is going to create a crisis in this country in a big way. Unfortunately, we did call upon the speakers of the two houses to resume or to recall the houses so that we could look at this matter as a house. Instead of recalling the houses, we were surprised that the president landed in the country and immediately started announcing of how fuel prices are going to behave in the next 1-2 months. And we all wondered, these fuel prices, we are told that legitimately and formally are regulated by EPRA, and that there is a certain formula that has to wait for certain circumstances to happen and occurrences for us to be able to determine the cost of fuel. And one of them being the landing costs, another one being the international prices. And we were surprised that the president can actually promise something that he has no knowledge about. And that is what we kind of have now been convinced, that if Murkomen, when he was left to run the country, I don't know what was happening to Professor Kindiki when the president had gone out of the country, that Professor Kindiki could not run the country, it was left to Murkomen.
He clarified, he said he was involved.
He was involved when he was in Darakanidi, not talking and not saying anything. At least we could have seen him. You know, you don't clarify things that we saw. We saw with our own 2 eyes that Professor Kindiki was nowhere to be seen, not even to be heard. And the person who, of course, was battling with this issue was Murkomen. Now, in one of those boardroom meetings, Murkomen did also bring down the cost of fuel with the 10 shillings. And so we are asking ourselves, have we been played? That this EPRA formula that is much talked about and hyped doesn't exist after all. That is actually the president who determines what the cost of fuel is. That is shocking to us. And that is where we are saying, if this president can promise to bring the cost of diesel by 10 shillings lower in the next 1 month, then he can manage to bring it down today with 40 shillings. Because we believe he's doing business with this thing. Remember, he sacked and jailed, or rather he put in his staff, his senior officials, when they tried to resolve this problem at the onset. We expected that these people would be jailed. We expected that they would be prosecuted. No prosecution happened. Why? Because there was nothing wrong they had done. They were only executing their duty, which they had been employed to do at that level. Of course, we told that they had also had some kickbacks here and there, and we are also informed that those kickbacks were all collected from their houses and delivered to the big house on the hill. Now,
informed by who?
This is the information which came from the DCIs.
This is propaganda, so you don't need
so
to inquire.
We are told, actually, even the figures are mentioned
propaganda.
up to 500 million Kenyan shillings. But let's not dwell so much on that.
Okay, let's talk
the issue is,
Yeah.
the issue is, the president has promised that fuel, that he will bring down the cost of fuel with 10 shillings. Now, we understand as we are talking now, the international prices, as of today, have dipped. They have gone down because they're saying the Asian tigers are now anticipating a ceasefire between Iran and America, and that they are going to be opening the Strait of Hormuz anytime. And so for that reason now, the fuel crisis is going to ease. But remember, President has already committed what he's going to be doing. I mean, why can't we just allow EPRA to do its work? And at the same time, why can't we also ask EPRA to remove the profit components and bring it down to a certain level, so that this profit that is being made by these oligarchs can give a relief to the long-suffering Kenyans, the low cadre of Kenyans. And that is what we see as a big problem. And that's where the solution lies. We need to have some of these taxes removed. We need to have profit margins brought down. And we need to have a realistic approach to how we are pricing fuel in the country.
Okay.
And needless to say, we also need to open the market. Let anyone who can bring fuel to Kenya bring. And of course, I had William Ruto promising Tanga people in Tanzania that he's going to be doing an oil refinery there. And by the way, when the president queried him about it, he stood and gave long list of benefits that Tanzania stands to benefit when they build this oil refinery there. Of course, we understand you want to do it using the National Infrastructure Fund from Kenya. But why wouldn't he do it in Mombasa if it has so many benefits and if it would help Tanzania to bring down the cost of living of Tanzanians? Does he now want to bring down the cost of Tanzanians when we are suffering here in Kenya? Does he want to do the same he's doing with the France people, that they are coming here now to enjoy our resources and ensuring that they have a good quality of life in France when Kenyans are suffering? I mean, why can't this president just consider these people who elected him for once?
Interesting. Ruto, as you come in, I hope you've heard some of the solutions that are being fronted. Reduction of profit margins, perhaps reduction of taxes and levies on fuel products. Are these proper proposals that can be acted upon when the House resumes, where there's a tyranny of numbers?
And by the way, when he's addressing himself to these issues, he also needs to know that the people of Kesesa are listening. And you know, recently we had a very big problem with the deputy speaker when she addressed our people about this. So you need to be, I need you back in parliament, my brother.
Okay.
Well,
Let's give him the time,
you could agree with me, listening to my good friend Kagusha. I still admire to have Kagusha, whom I knew before, especially when he was the Speaker of the Nyeri County Assembly, and immediately, even when he was elected. I think these politics, especially when you join a team that has no clear plan and agenda other than banging on propaganda, because every other word he said, pointing finger, has no basis about it. But nonetheless to say, well, speaking about the structure of the cost of fuel, we all know that a critical commodity that is moving fast, that has a certainty of collection, is fuel, because of the nature of operation and demand in it. Of course, when you talk of margin sometimes you may not come to interview because it's a question of business people. Some of the specific charges and levies on fuel are also specified to a given critical function. Like even as I speak today, the three of us, we are members of parliament. Back in our constituencies, we know we oversight an expenditure on maintaining of withered roads to do 22%. That is implemented by Kenya Rural Roads Authority. Those levies are the one facilitating those roads that are helping our farmers back in our village where we maintain them normal with maram, using the normal soil, hard soil, maram, borrow bits, all that, and drainage so that to ease mobility. Sometimes even we collect them and make some small bridges. So all those, what Kera is helping our people electorate is as a result of 22% and 10%. We also know that the other day code ruled that county government, and I've seen Kenya Roads Board today has printed allocations to county governments to help them work on access roads. We also know an element, as I said earlier, of securitization, which also on the other side, as we pull out that one, it means we are going to stop. And the same way, the same motor vehicles we are fueling will have problems in mobility because of those roads. And members of public will still come again to the government, to the Serikali. What are you doing? You help us be able to move. But all the others put together, I agree that, of course, we will be resuming to Parliament tomorrow, and I will be expecting my colleagues to be able to give us approved figures. Like Mullah said last time, during when we had crisis in the last regime, they were able to propose, and National Assembly approved reduction from 16 to 8.
Okay.
Yeah, already I've seen President has given the same pronunciation, because when we are demonstrating, we are pointing finger at the President. Out of his leadership, he has also caused the same replicating, so that to ease the pressure from the VAT. But at the same time, I think there's something that we also fail to speak about. That at the advent of pressurized expenditure, the pressure on expenditure side, there's what we call tax expenditure that we are increasing with this zero rating. This tax expenditure is not money, it's not something in free, but rather we have to ensure that we set aside money to compensate the business people, because when you say zero rated, any VAT element around it has to be paid back by government. It means it has to go back to the exchequer to coffers. So it is a compensating element that we must also sacrifice another opportunity of giving service, a very critical service, to come and address it. So that's why it's a very delicate balance that we must balance so that we're able to progress. Our main prayers is that there should be stability in the Middle East and the first countries that are troubling, so that we stabilize. And not only Kenyan, our Kenyan media have just reported, I saw yesterday, about Ethiopia. Ethiopia, they have packed their vehicles because there is scarcity of fuel. They have no ability, unlike Kenya, where G2G, and we want to thank the current administration. As much as we are complaining, but at least we are able to move. For us to be here, we are able to move. Ethiopia packed their vehicles. Malawi, we have seen what is happening in Malawi. There is serious crisis. What is happening? It shows that this problem is not unique to Kenya. What we've tried as Kenyan government and our own arrangement in our own way is to mitigate the problem. The fact that we still feel the pain of it, but at least for us to move, our economy is moving because there is availability of the commodity to run our economy. Some other economies are stalling because of that. So please, as we look at this, let us look at in a broader manner out of our political agenda pushing on propaganda, like what I'm getting my good friend Kagusha, and I'm praying that friend of mine to come back to where he used to be. and if you are able to pick how we used to, I mean, bring out issues, it was so sound and sensible enough. And like now picking Tom and Jerry to try to tarnish the administration, you know. Anyway, it is his job now. He belongs to where he is now, and I don't blame him for that.
Are you telling me to come back to Ruto you or Ruto?
Of course, you come back to the party that promoted.
Okay, interesting.
Thank you.
This matter has been politicized, as you've mentioned.
Yes.
Let's just hear from some current leaders, including the former head of state, Uhuru Kenyatta, on matters to do with blame game, alleviating the cost of living, and the sharp reply he got from the Kapseret Member of Parliament, Oscar Sudi. Let's just listen in briefly.
Mimi ni mtu ambaye mshahara wangu kwa mwezi ni shilingi 20,000. Hiyo 20,800 inaenda kwa petroli peke yake kwa matatu kuenda na kurudi nyumbani. 12,000 inaenda kwa nyumba ambaye nimekodesha. Nimebaki na 2,000 ya kulisha watoto wangu na kuwapeleka shule. Hiyo ndio shida, ongelesha shida. Hapana ongea mambo ya kabila na ya nini.
Kama kuna mtu aliumiza nchi, kama kuna rais wa Kenya walipumulia, kama kuna rais wa Kenya hata hawataka kusikia siku nyingine, na kama hata kuna mtu anakaa kunyamaza hata mtu yote asimsikie, ni wewe my friend. Wewe unajua uliwacha nchi na madeni kiasi gani? Ni ile tu wa Kenya wana appreciate, wengi wana appreciate. Shida tu yenye tuko nayo kidogo ni ukabila hapo kidogo. Yenye watu wanapiga kelele nini, hataki kusema ukweli na kupea mtu asante yake kwa ile kazi anafanya. Wewe nikuulize, Uhuru, ukienda nyumbani dola ilikuwa hapa 150, 158 ukienda nyumbani. Sasa hiyo dola ni pesa ngapi? Ukienda nyumbani unga kwa duka ilikuwa na uso 251 kilo. Ukienda nyumbani wewe. Ukienda nyumbani fertilizer ilikuwa 6,500 to 7,500. Sasa hii unajua fertilizer ni pesa ngapi? Na hapo ndio ungesaidia wananchi kwa kuwapatia mbegu na fertilizer ili wapande chakula. Wewe ukachukua pesa serikali ukaenda kupatia muhindi na mimi na nani wenye wako na biashara kwa maduka, watu wachache, kuumiza nchi na kuumiza deni ya nchi.
So Ruto, briefly, when the former head of state says stop blame game and work, well, what do you make of such sentiments, and why does it seem that he's the punching bag of this administration? Anything wrong?
I think for me, ever I was elected on record, I've never seriously picked any words with Uhuru Kenyatta for one reason. Yeah. But at least from today, I have something to say. And I would have wished you would have taken also a moment to play his clip during the crisis of fuel when there is war between Russia and Ukraine, saying, mimi nilikuwa mahali pale, munaniuliza mimi nilikuwa mahali pale. What has changed today? The truth remains, at the time of Tubaja President Uhuru Kenyatta, you all know, immediately even after the swearing in of William Ruto, the first thing Jeremiah Kioni was doing what? Masufuria. Because he did the wrong calculation by taking subsidies on millers who are few people who could not translate to the entire economy, which this administration came to change.
Okay.
Speak of exchange, speak of foreign reserves, import reserves cover, speak of everything. Today there would be a better person to lecture William Ruto than Uhuru Kenyatta. Remember, in his own words, when the Supreme Court had ruled in favor of William Ruto, when he called a meeting of Asimio to Maasai Lodge, and he told them what? There will be election in 6 months because I believe there is no money in this economy. There will be crisis. In his own words, tell me whether he meant good for this administration. Yes, he had his own choice of successor, other than his deputy who died by him for 10 good years, who stood by him for 10 good years without uttering a word against him. against him. Yes, the only time last time when he said, yes, unless you tell me about the people, but show me a case, even at the time it was going difficult, when there was not funded at his current residence, he used to say, my boss has sent me.
So when he said that the previous administration doesn't know what it's doing when it comes to this fuel crisis, because the current president was on record mentioning that the disparities in the price of fuel in Kenya and our neighbors is due to cartels, and I'm the one who can
sort this. And that is why the aspect of G2G out of his initiation has sustained our problems.
True. So he talked against the former head of state.
Of course, but he has never picked on accusing him on his character of leadership. He never picked on attacking his character on leadership. So what am I trying to say? Please, for God's sake, let us have someone else. I would rather now go with my two friends here to critique William Ruto than Uhuru Kenyatta.
All right.
When he picked up the debt of Kenya from 1.8 trillion where Kibaki left, and he handed over 11 trillion. Look at our budget today. In our budget expenditure, we are now setting aside 1.5 trillion. Out of it, 1.3 trillion is to manage the debt services. He left the country when he knew very well that Eurobond was falling due. And he left even no shilling, no debt management plan was put in place. And the administration had to come and reorganize to be able to save the nation from drifting. I mean, for God's sake, let someone else speak.
Fair enough. Let's give Mule a chance to speak.
Thank you, Jess. I really admire Ruto because...
Which Ruto?
The one I'm sitting with.
He admires the other one.
The other one, no. Because the one we are sitting with here is talking of something called G2G. And I can tell you for free, ask him here whether he has ever seen a contract of G2G, whether he knows what is G2G, and what G2G must mean. And I want to tell him today, if they are serious about G2G, we will not be in the crisis we are in. Because G2G means that a company owned by a Saudi country, the Saudi government, trades with a company owned by Kenya government, like National Oil Corporation. Is that the case? No. Ask yourself, the other William, the other Ruto, not this one, likes to use words which capture the imaginations of Kenyans and think that he can be holier than thou. He has never explained to Kenyans what is G2G. On the other side of the negotiation, the companies which are dealing with oil belongs to Saudi government, belongs to Dubai Emirates, belongs to the governments of that side. Here in Kenya, what is called G2G are private entities. When did private entities become government entities? Yet we have National Oil Corporation. And that's where the jigs of the matter of oil kicks in. One, G2G locked out free market of import of fuel. So, you are on your own. I will give you the price I want. I will put the margins I want. I know who will make the money. The companies which are doing this business are well known. You have seen one being, when it did not cooperate well, was told off to pack their oil and go. That is One Oil. We have Galana, we have GAF. Those are not government entities. This government should stop lying to Kenyans. They have done something magical called G2G. Actually, the second G should be substituted to R.
WSR.
Yes. So that it can match the bigger shareholder in the companies doing oil business.
You are saying G to WSR.
Yes, something like that. Now, let's stop that politics because...
But on that G2G, they're arguing we don't have a shortage of fuel supply due to that agreement.
Let me tell you something. The truth of the matter is that we have had serious shortages because, one, you go to petrol station, a petrol station tells you you can only fuel a certain amount of fuel, not what you can buy.
Those are lies.
Two, that is the truth.
That was common.
You've personally
that was common
experienced
during
Yes,
the time of
yes,
Uhuru.
I have. Now, what has happened is this, and I told you the UDA matrix of diversion is so well taught to all the brigade of UDA. You can hear him. The things Kenyans are asking is that, why did you close the open market of import of fuel? We have serious companies in this country like Total. Total is not allowed to bring oil. It has to rely on the so-called GR, because it's not G2G.
Okay.
GR organization. The thing is this, and we need to be very specific. If today we are serious enough as a country, the first thing we need to do, we drop the VAT from 8% to 4%. Secondly, we look at the added figure of 25 shillings and reduce it to 0. I know they don't want to do that simply because there's 7 shillings.
Yes.
They have securitized for the next 15 years, whatever to come.
It's actually 12.
12 years.
7 shillings plus 5 shillings.
Yes. The third thing we need to do, we need to reduce the railway development levy, which is added to fuel, from 3% to at least 0.5%.
But they have also securitized the same.
The same has been securitized. Actually, these guys have shot themselves on the foot. Yeah. There is very little they can do on the issue of the fuel. The only alternative Kenyans have is not to accept their rhetoric of profiling communities, their rhetoric that they are doing anything. Make sure that they get their votes ready, and we send them very early in the morning on 10th of August, 2027.
Well, now the discussion has gone the other way. So we have to contest on that. We are good so also.
And that we make sure that we reclaim our country back. We stop. William Ruto was on record saying that state capture of government institution. I've now come to realize, even then, he was the masterminder of state capture. Because the way he has captured parliament, the way he has captured EPRA, the way he has captured his ministers, is everything. He is a state capture himself.
So can Parliament give any reprieve it's been captured?
Before you fix them,
Yeah.
since G2G, so that we don't mislead Kenyans, sometimes it's good to be also honest enough and say the truth as much as we want to play politics about it. I don't know where does it come from, my good friend, that G2G is about facilitating someone's business. It's just an arrangement of giving a guarantee to the fuel suppliers.
Do you know what
and that is why, and it came in especially during the time of instability in the dollar, and because the cause of changes, volatility in the dollar, it was purely on fuel. But the moment government said that we are going to protect and ensure in case of any problem, we are taking responsibility. Suppliers was very certain, and that's what has constantly hated us. Remember during those times, there was dry petrol stations. Every other time people were moving around and they were queuing.
Which company in Kenya?
Well, I know you said Kalana, yes, I know there's GAP, all that you are putting across. But it's not a question of, it's a government guaranteeing Saudias that please, we are protecting the business people around in the fuel for the interest of the country. So let's stop misleading people and putting people without, and even in parliament, there are members of parliament, and they know very well you cannot tag someone's name until and when you have facts. And for that purpose, I know we are not discussing the character of the president of Kenya in a manner that, and he's not here to defend himself, neither do we have facts.
So you insist
to touch him. I insist to G2G is for good interest, is for public, and that is where we are right now. We are no longer have the challenges we were facing during the time of Uhuru's time when he was leaving. At least the economy is running. But otherwise, we can twist and twist all languages to suit the way we want. But for God's sake, let us protect people's individual names unless they were here to defend themselves or unless we have facts that are printed. So now if you change G and had somebody's name, surely are we really fair?
But
and we are discussing the president in such a forum. That is wrong.
You see, that is the truth, my brother.
That's not the truth.
No, that is the truth. The person who is trading in this fuel is a person who is adding the costing and saying they can remove the costing. What else are you telling us? You know, and I warned you, you need to be very careful about what you say on set, because people from KSS are watching.
Excuse me.
And let me tell you,
when you say, let's be fair and conduct this discussion
for example,
and debate in a manner that is very progressive, the way we started. But if you want to put our own jargons,
let's give him time.
You know, Ruto,
okay.
I'm helping you, my brother, because you're my brother.
But of course, you don't mislead people.
You know, I'm helping you. I'm not misleading people. I warned you about what you say here on set. You know, are you saying that the fuel pumps have not run dry in the course of this time because of G2G? That would be shocking. I don't know how many times you visited your fueling station and there was no fuel in the last 1 week. Every day when we have the president raising, or EPRA, let's say EPRA, but we know it's not EPRA, it's the president. Whenever we have him raising the cost of, or the price of fuel, petrol and diesel, 1 week before, there's no fuel that is selling in the petrol stations in Kenya. That's a fact.
Of course,
most of
it was because of
not all petrol stations.
It was hoarding. It was nothing to do with supply of
instances.
oil. It was hoarding, and because there was a warning that there will be scarcity or prices will change. And because of the nature of business,
this has happened.
They hoarded, but immediately the government stepped in to stabilize. They opened up their pump stations.
You see, it's very interesting.
Kakusha, go back to where you used to be and argue from the facts.
When we had the first raising of the fuel, with about 40 shillings, then we made noise and it was brought down, I think, with about 7 shillings. We had most of the fueling stations running dry, and fuel was hoarded. And when this is happening, are you telling me that now in this G2G arrangement, government is so insensitive? Like you see, that's what I'm querying. The government is so insensitive that they will hoard fuel when they know that the price is going high. Which government would actually do that if it is not the issue of profit motive? Number two, the last week again, last week again, is it last week or last week? But when again we were waiting for the fuel prices to be raised by the president, we had a similar situation where most of the fueling stations actually ran dry. Anyway, let's go back to the issues that Kapseret MP is raising, Sudi. The Kapseret MP is raising against Uhuru. He says that Uhuru raised the cost of fuel when there was a problem with the war in Ukraine and Russia. But one of the things that we must give it to Uhuru also is that he was able to subsidize the cost of fuel and hence retaining the prices relatively low. When Uhuru did hand over the instruments of power to William Ruto, a litre of diesel
was 214.
140 shillings.
It was 214. It is William who brought it down.
You know, I'm giving a fact.
I don't think it had crossed the 200 mark.
No, I'm giving a fact.
We will check it here.
You can
please
check.
do. Yeah,
you can check EPRA.
Yes. And I'll do the same.
You serve in the finance committee, a very serious committee in this country.
Very serious.
Bunge. You can get
and you are not among the people misleading people about finance.
Open EPRA pricing. Check on the day the handing over of the sword was given to Ruto from Uhuru Kenyatta. A cost of a litre of diesel was costing 140 Kenya shillings. A litre of petrol was costing 159 shillings and 12 cents.
It's true.
That's the amount that it was costing. Today, as we are talking, a litre of diesel is costing 232 Kenya shillings, whereas a litre of petrol is costing, I think, about 214 shillings.
Okay.
Now, I'm saying this for the benefit of Kapseret MP, and probably also because of the benefit of KSS MP here. I also want to ask the KSS MP, Kapseret MP Sudi, to also explain to us when he talks about this fertilizer that they lowered the cost or the prices of fertilizer in Kenya. I want him also to tell us about the fertilizer that came from Russia in huge quantities, and the fertilizer that came from Morocco, again, in huge quantities, that was meant to be given for free to Kenyan farmers. And this was to cushion them against the war that was happening in Russia. I want him to tell us what happened to this fertilizer. Was it ever given for free to Kenyan farmers? Or is it the same fertilizer that was resold, repackaged, and resold to Kenyans? And where did that money go to? Because this fertilizer was meant to be for free in Kenyan market. So when we are talking about issues here about Uhuru Kenyatta and about what happened in the last regime and what is happening now, I can tell you there is no comparison. It is like day and night. It is like death and sleep. You cannot compare where William Ruto is taking this country as compared to where Uhuru Kenyatta was taking this country. I mean, we can run this country in a better way. And you know, William Ruto did convince us, for example, that subsidies were wrong and were bad. Now you can see, even after he has done the subsidies for fuel, you can already see he is talking from this side of the mouth, but on this other side of the mouth, he's saying something very different and doing something very different. He's talking of having subsidized fuel now in Kenya. Have you seen any subsidy?
Of course, I need to remind you about
how can you subsidize fuel from 140 shillings?
I need to remind you about the use of petroleum levy
coming to you
to 232 Kenya shillings in May 2026. I mean, you can't call that propaganda, my friend. That is a fact. I'm sure you have checked there and you have seen yourself. That is a fact. A liter of diesel was costing 140 shillings. So you can't say that you'd rather hear criticism coming from Kagusha or from Honorable Mule here and not Uhuru because Uhuru's regime was worse. It was not at all.
Fair enough, gentlemen. This matter of fuel. So at the end of the day, can we expect reprieve from Parliament? We've heard from Mule saying Parliament is captured, but we're looking to you in terms of policy guidelines when it comes to reducing taxes, levies on fuel. Is this an area of priority when you resume?
It's an area of priority, but I can also tell you, out of more than 347 members of Parliament and maybe 67 senators, only about 30 of them now would face this government and tell them the truth. Only about 30 of them are ready and willing to do what is right and what is correct. Most of these other people either have been bought off cash money or are fearful of consequences of raising their voice and exercising their independent judgment and oversight on matters governance in this Republic of Kenya. And that is why I want to challenge my friends and my colleagues that we must rise to the occasion. We cannot be protecting this beast that continues to oppress, suppress our Kenyan people who have elected us as if we are not in a position of the suffering that they are going through. I mean, as members of Parliament, we must for once either refuse to take money from William Ruto or stop fearing him. Because I know some of these people may not even have benefited so much financially from him, but they fear him. And I don't understand why. I mean, every one of us was elected by the people of the Republic of Kenya. Whether you are elected as an MCA, as a women rep, as a member of Parliament, you are elected the same way William Ruto was elected. And for that reason, we must stand for the rights of the people of this republic. Whether they talk or they don't, here with Honorable Mule and a few of us who are willing to talk, we will talk. And of course, we'll have our say. Whether they have their way, Kenyans will understand and they will know that it's on record. We did
actually
what was right.
The problem we are facing is so dire that there is no political goodwill. And that is the most saddest part of the current parliament. Because if we had a political goodwill which understands Kenyans are suffering and they stop fearing the administration, they stop listening to the administration, I can assure you it requires only tomorrow afternoon and bring the cost of fuel down by scrapping the taxes, which is in the purview of Parliament. But because my brother here and his brothers have already been captured, there is no political goodwill. Kenyans can embrace a tough time to go. It is the saddest time whereby you see people who are being given the power by the people to resolve the most pressing issues. Do you know one thing, one cardinal rule of parliament, and Ruto knows, is that we are elected to resolve any problem of Kenyans. This problem squarely not lies with us in parliament if the political goodwill is there. And I've given very clear examples. Didi Nyoro has given his write-up on what need to be reduced.
And
Wandeto has done so. Have done mine. I did it before. It happened. The good political goodwill does not lie with the Kenya Council government. The only thing they want is to continue oppressing Kenyans, continue making Kenyans suffer, so that when they go to the constituencies with the goodies from the house in the hill, those Kenyans will be coming for the goodies and they can listen to them.
Okay, fair enough. Ruto.
I think listening to my colleagues and more so my good friend Kagusha, the level of hypocrisy that is coming out of him, I really don't, it's unprecedented. At that tone that he's using and condemning the parliament that he sits in to prosecute and to represent the people of Mugurueni, by now he should have resigned. If that honorable house is as filthy as he's putting it, because for better of any other words, he's calling it the house which has been taken over, members of parliament are being paid, port, left, right, center. I don't know what is the value of member of parliament, the number of members of parliament who are put, and then you calculate in terms of money. To be honest, I mean, I don't dispute Mule the way he's putting it, and I think I'm eager to be in parliament tomorrow to see his achievement, which has already been taken care of, because he's saying that in last regime, he was able to put up a motion, and VAT was reduced from 16 to 8. What has already happened? And the source of that funding is better known to them, that is this petroleum levy, that is purpose and intent of that levy is to cushion the prices of fuel when it rises. That levy, it is used to subsidize. That levy is used holistically and for that purpose. And it has been utilized, and that is why there was a shock in prices. As to why paraffin was raised, it's because of protection of the alteration. Nothing much about it. So that when you bring down the diesel, to avoid the alteration, it was raised to balance off. But on the aspect of condemning the house that I sit in, that the three of us are in, it is something that I'm saying, sorry. It is not wrong for him to say, I know Honorable so-and-so was put in any case, if he has any evidence. But generalizing an August house, an honorable house, where he took Bible, I know him, he's a Christian, and said, I swear to protect this law. And then today it sounds good for him to condemn. The best thing he should have done, if he's really convinced that he's in the wrong place, is to resign.
We must remain there so that we remain as the conscience.
So, no, with conscience again, when you are generalizing the house, than few individuals if they are there. In any case, let us also speak. What is the purpose of parties that promotes members of parliament? It is to align with the party policies and goals. Mule today will be speaking about why the party, where it belongs. I don't know what is the goals of DCP, where I know him is not a member of DCP. They had struggled today to nominate, to elect an SG in Senator Medu because he's a member of another party. They are struggling to have him there. I know he's a member of UDA, though he's negating to support. But nonetheless to say, we have a role when you're in parliament to stand with the party direction. For me and for us and him, that we put the government of the day. We are supposed to be aligned to the government. Of course, not in everything, critiquing it, but supporting the policies that is going to progress this nation. And these policies is what we've seen already manifesting.
I think that's where we get to.
So from where you sit, Ruto, which one supersedes the other? The party position or what the people of Keses actually want?
I'm saying the interest of, when you are looking at the policies, allow me, you've raised a question to me. You are looking at the sound policies that promotes the interest of the people. And as long as the policy that is ahead, that is being talked about, as the interest of the people, you have to align yourself to that.
If they have the interest of the people, let them and his team,
and if we meet in the house tomorrow,
we should
be speaking about the progress. And if we have the interest of the people, we should be speaking about the progress. Remember the bending bills that had stalled roads that was started during the time of Uhuru Kenyatta. Right now, there are jobs on the side.
Okay.
Right now, the roads are being embarked on. I mean, for the purpose of the public interest. So where are we trading in between? Does it sound to use a problem that you have at hand to magnify the whole problem and remember, tomorrow they are going to think Kaongo must go because he's not delivering Alidutanganya. And then they are saying Alidutanganya. So while he's trying to balance on delivering on the promise, a different and unprecedented challenge of a war between America and Iran, and he's trying to balance at the same time to keep the pace of giving to his own promise to the people. Surely, for God's sake.
I think
even
that
if
is
it
where,
was you,
that is where,
you put on that shoe.
That is where.
Sometimes I treat that as a propaganda.
All right.
Well, I think that is now when the MP says here talks Honorable Ruto, that now you understand the crisis we are in, the tragedy we face as a Kenyan people. That an MP thinks that they have been elected to go and represent William Ruto in Parliament and represent his thinking, represent his political party, even when the SG of that political party is driving a wedge between communities in the country. He thinks that we should still go and represent that political party in Parliament. He forgets that our role as members of Parliament is to represent the people who elect us. People who elected me are the people of Mukurweini constituency. And that's why I stand whipped by my political party. Today, as we talk, I do not serve in any reasonable and meaningful committee in Parliament because I'm whipped by my political party because I do not.
What committee do you serve in?
No, well, I mean that's a debate about.
Just tell us.
No, I serve in the procedure and the Rules and Procedures Committee.
Okay.
I serve in the Rules and Procedure Committee, but I served in 3 different committees before. Now I stand whipped, and I'm okay with it because I am not supposed to be representing my political party at the expense of the people.
Let's proceed with parliamentary procedure.
You know, I am not supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be representing my political party at the expense of the people of Mukurweini who elected me, and also at the expense of the people of the Republic of Kenya. Because as a member of Parliament, I'm not only representing the people of Mukurweini, but I'm also representing the people of the Republic of Kenya. Because we also do legislation, we also do oversight. Can you imagine a member of Parliament saying here that we are supposed to be so aligned to the political parties and to the executive agenda in Parliament that we forget our oversight role, which is really our constitutional mandate. Now, that is a crisis. That is a problem that we face as a Kenyan people if our members of Parliament will not understand their role and execute it as it is put in our constitution.
Gentlemen, I'd like to get your final comments on this Finance Bill 2026.
And by the way, the member of Parliament for Kesses actually thinks because I'm unable to represent his political party and the thinking of the executive, then I should resign. Imagine a member of Parliament thinking in that way.
Ruto,
and
right of reply before we cross over to Mule.
Thank you.
Briefly,
If Kagusha would twist the words, I'm here, and I've stated that I'm elected through a party that I believe in the policies for the interest of Kenyans. But when things are not okay, they are like I sit in a committee of finance and national planning. Most proposals in Finance Bill 2024 were so controversial. Most of them like car tax, like eco levy. And if you look at the report at my committee that I stand in, changed, amended in totality. And the outcome of that, although it never went through, it reflected a concerted and a bill that carried the interest of the people. That is it. But the way he's twisting, then I have no surprise as to why today I'm hearing people talking of Finance Bill 2026 that it's as taxes on lands, it's going to take away your land. I've had the leader of my good friend saying reject Finance Bill. And I'm surprised whether he has read it. He doesn't know the content about it.
Then tell us the truth. Is there anything to do with matters to do with lands that haven't been paid for, their dues actually being, is there a 10%?
Finance Bill 2026 carries amendments on income tax. That's a number first bill.
Yes.
It does a VAT. It does excise tax. It does miscellaneous levies and fees. And it does Tax Procedures Act. Nothing to do with Land Act. Of the 52 clauses, not even one clause. The only thing that is bringing about is the stamp duty on transfer of shares, because of the value of shares also encompasses including the property. That's the only thing that has been introduced. And of course, among other issues that we are looking at, that of course we'll be discussing there. But all this has been propagated, misinformation and disinformation.
So leasehold land
all
policies.
All these are disinformation and information. And I'm not surprised at how Gakusha is changing when I'm here and trying to perpetrate a message that I'm not saying.
Okay.
I believe these are the promoters of what is
Okay, let's cross over to Mule, because he was present while his party leader actually said we should reject the finance bill in its entirety. As we get your final comments, would we be throwing the baby with the bathwater? What makes it so bad that we should reject it in its entirety?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, the current finance bill 2026 is extremely oppressive. And actually, I just want to touch on only 4 items which briefly makes it to be rejected by Kenyans in totality. And the first thing is what they are proposing called Digital Financial Services, VAT. Proposing VAT on digital platforms based on financial services, including money transfer, payments, processing, and merchant acquiring. What does that mean? Every Kenyan who uses a mobile platform to pay any service, will be taxed 16%. Every Kenyan who goes to the bank and transfers money from his account to pay school fees for his own kids, he'll be charged 16%.
Well, what's the current rate?
There is no
None
16%.
at all. Okay.
None at all. Any Kenyan who goes to the bank to withdraw money to his wallet and go to the shop and do shopping for his house, for the household, food for his household, he'll be taxed 16%. Basically, what they are proposing is so crazy to push the existing high cost of living higher. The second thing these guys are proposing, and he's here because he sits in that committee, is something called non-resident rental tax. Includes non-resident rental tax framework, which is proposed to a final tax of 30% on gross of rent for individual driving income from properties in Kenya. What does that translate to? If Ruto here has houses is renting to people, he'll be subjected to 30%. What will he do? He'll definitely straight away transfer the cost of that tax to the people living in his own houses. So increasing rent for Kenyans who don't have houses. It touches that. The third thing is withholding tax, bordering definition of management, professional fees, loyalties to cover payments, network processing, charging, increasing withholding tax exposure for digital platform. The same government has been telling Kenyans and the young people they need to be creative in the creative economy, do business in the digital platform. They are proposing a tax. So, because they have realized that they are the young people who are working from the houses. They are not in offices. They are in informal. They want to tax the informal through that proposal. The last one, so that I can give them a chance.
Yes.
Betting and digital taxation. Tighten regulation around betting, taxation, and aim enhancing compliance of tracking across digital economy. The same digital economy they are talking about. And they have been telling Kenyans. What we are saying is this. With those 4 items, it will push the cost of living for Kenyans from where it is to another level by almost 40-50%. Do Kenyans want to be taxed extra coin? No. The Kralik core, so that they can now understand they lead people, they don't lead cows, is to reject the finance bill 2026. Because, 1, we are not allowing taxing of money transfers. We are not allowing people to the rental income on rent to increase the land, the cost of living within the household.
Fair enough,
and
yes.
also, please, Kenyans, we are not just saying that we reject the Finance Bill 2026 for the sake. It is for you, Kenyans, to save yourself from this regime of Kasongo and Sakayo juu ya mti.
I'm curious, as Kagusha you come in, we'll give Ruto the final say. Is it possible to withdraw some of these controversial clauses without necessarily rejecting the whole finance bill?
Well, I think I wish we can have a time where we can look at this finance bill, you know,
we'll be calling you again
in a more comprehensive manner.
Yes, yes.
So that we can be able to demonstrate to Kenyans that it's not going to be possible to drop some of the proposals that are in this finance bill and still leave it as what it is. So if you look, for example, at the proposed excise duty on phones at 25%, I have listened to the Treasury CS trying to justify this, trying to say that, oh, you know, we are saying you're not going to be doing this, tax and that, and so we are trying to simplify. And of course, you know that is hogwash. It's PR that he's trying to do. He is increasing the cost of phones with 25%. So if you have been buying a phone at 10,000 shillings, it is going to increase with 2,500 Kenya shillings. And that is going to be very prohibitive for Kenyans to be able to acquire smartphones. And by the way, don't forget, recently, His Excellency the President did say publicly that we are manufacturing phones. And of course, you remember his promise that a phone will be, a smartphone manufactured in Kenya will not cost more than 6,000 shillings. Now, he is proposing to increase the cost of the same phone with 25% shillings, clearly going against the promise that he had done publicly and to the people of the Republic of Kenya.
What current taxes are on these mobile phones? Because he argues there are multiple taxes and then now they're just consolidating it into that 25%.
You see, it's not saving you anything, because once you import your goods, especially if you are importing your goods through consolidated means, which come through the port of Mombasa, you pay the consolidation fee, which also includes the many other taxes that are inside there, including the RDL, that is the Railway Development Levy. I mean, there are many other taxes that are inside there. Now, Buddy is trying to tell us that once you pay this 25% excess duty, you will not be paying RDL. Is that what he's trying to tell us? Is he telling us that we'll not be paying the consolidators when we are importing these phones? It's a lie. It's a lie.
As we finalize, yes.
So, this is an increase to what we have been paying. We also have excise duty on mitumba. Mitumba is not a luxury in Kenya. Mitumba is a necessity, is a clothing, which is a basic need for Kenyans. And now you want to tax the same, which is worn by the mama mboga that you're talking about and the boda boda person that you're referring to, that you want to help in Kenya. I mean, that promise again is broken, and we see that getting us into a lot of trouble. We have this, of course, the digital tax that on money transfer that they are referring to is very punitive, is very bad for our republic. And I also want to remind you of the recent promise that was made that would be in this finance bill.
Finally, yes.
I mean, on the issue of pay, the reduction of the pay. Remember, they said that those people who are earning a certain category of money or salaries are going to be exempted from paying pay. And when they said that, I hope people, the Kenyan people understand what they were trying to do. At that point in time, what the president was doing was to increase the NSSF that is chargeable to every Kenyan. He was increasing it to more than double, and in some instances even 3 times. And when he was doing that, he made an empty promise that, see, we are reducing the pay so that people could not make noise when he was increasing the NSSF. But soon after, he has departed from that. Ask him. He's here. He's a member of Finance Committee.
Yeah, the CS equally clarified that it's not
where they have reduced the pay for Kenyans that they promised to. And of course, you know, this was also done to the chiefs when they went to State House, that they would have a reduction in taxes of their salaries through this kind of an arrangement. Now, of course, we also have VAT now that is also being posted on the goods that are being auctioned. remember now auctioning in Kenya is a big business because Kenyans are not able to pay their loans anymore because government is borrowing or it has taken up all the monies from the banks, and banks are not able to lend to Kenyans. Yeah. But now Kenyans who are not able to pay back their taxes because of the interest rates going very high are being told that you also have now to pay tax on those goods that are being auctioned. That means then a good that is being auctioned because a Kenyan was not able to pay, the proceeds from that loss will be a profit to government. That is a government that eats its people.
Let's bring in Ruto. Final say, you're a member of the budget committee. Clarify.
Finance committee, not budget committee.
Finance, yes, sorry about that.
I think since you've given it a last opportunity to respond, I should also put clarity in,
yes, please.
On the provisions on these clauses. There are actually 57 clauses, and starting from the word Mitumba, I think let's not use this platform to spread propaganda. My good friend, I know him, he reads a lot. He's also a lawyer, and I'm expecting him to indicate which clause or which HS code was affected that touches on Mitumba. It was as Dading was said, and I've not seen in the green published document that is before us now at the stakeholder engagement that is underway. I've actually left stakeholders, as far as this night is concerned, they're ongoing. We are collecting the views. From the words of my colleagues, they've said that the power is in Parliament. It is us in Parliament who are going to make this law.
You guys love
Yeah, that's what
you have the power.
Yes,
Anyway,
the power is in Parliament.
So the power is captured.
Executive have done their work as requirement by the BFM Act. The Cabinet Secretary has tabled his proposals. We are now engaging public participation, stakeholder engagement. We will be going around the country to 15 counties effective next week. To listen to members of public on their views. We will sit down, retreat, and do a report collecting all the views, like what we've done before, what we've been doing before. In the long run, through the committee, chairman will be making his own amendments. The same members privately will be seeking to make their own amendments on areas they feel they are not coherent with the current situation, of course, with looking at the situation as it is. Like, I agree, I've seen proposals on VAT, on transactions. Those are elements we've already seen. We've had people from bank, they're also explaining to us. We are collecting their views. Remember, the document is still as raw as it was, brought by the Cabinet Secretary. The issue on excises, on phones, there is, first of all, I need to confirm that we have companies in Kenya who are assembling phones, including M-Copper. It was truly the Committee of Finance. We paid a visit to the premise, and we were able to establish they are producing 7,000 phones in a day. Reason why excise duties is always introduced, other than generating revenue, is for the purpose of deterrence or protecting what can be done here. So if what can be done, we have around 5 companies right now that they have shown interest in manufacturing, in assembling in Kenya, for the purpose of also creating employment in our country. So if we levy excise on imported finished phones, we are giving an opportunity for locally manufactured or assembled for that purpose so that we retain our employment. So what am I trying to say? The issue, even that one, there's the issue of data protection, something again that is coming up. This assembly last time I rejected it. I've seen it is coming up again. We have an opportunity to look at. So I want to communicate to the members of public. Let them not be worried by what we are saying. Actually, it is the duty of the 3 of us here in the National Assembly to be able to look at them at the 3rd reading stage or at the Committee of the Whole House and be able to eliminate what is eliminatable, what is going to, there's no tyranny of numbers. We've been doing that. We've did that one before, and we are doing for the purpose of the of people of Kenya. Unlike where we want to politicize now, you're asking me, surely, where is the provision on land tax on that? And I've had one person who has been the Vice President of the Republic of Kenya going on record to say reject finance bill because it is bad. He is not stating which clause. At least my colleagues here have managed to pick out on issues. You can debate on those, issues, and we will debate when at the 2nd reading we will be debating on that in Parliament, not even here. But what I want to assure members of public is that the National Assembly, especially the Committee of Finance and National Planning, we are keen and interested in listening to members of public. Like as I've told you from morning, even as I was coming here, we were still engaging because of the holiday that is coming up next week.
Wednesday,
we are to on board. Those people would have come on Wednesday so that we listen and give them time so that we don't lock out anyone.
And those views will be considered. That's the assurance.
Look at every report we do,
Okay.
and look at the chairman's amendments. If you listen to chairman saying during the 30 thing, I beg to move an amendment, then it is as a result of the output of the input and the output of the product that came through public participation, stakeholder engagement, and even finally, even during the debate of the House.
Despite tyranny of numbers.
And by the way, just to...
That one has been made to be screwed.
Okay.
And I would still people to invite the scholars.
Okay.
Would they access the finance bill of 2024, the final product? If you're able to look at it and read word by word and compare with the original proposal from the National Treasury, it is totally two different things.
Okay, gentlemen, our time is up.
No, by the way, I just wanted to point out that whenever the finance bill comes to the House, as a member of parliament, you cannot personally and individually alter an iota or even a comma in the government raising measures in the House without the prior concurrence of the committee, treasury, and executive.
Tyrant of numbers.
It's important for people to understand that.
Interesting.
Article
Good thing
209.
it'll all play out in front of Kenyans. The residents of Keses, Matungulu, and Mukurweini will be watching with high expectations. Okay.
Tusiharibu nchi juu ya propaganda.
Yes,
Election is next year. We use all means, but not propaganda.
That's a good discussion. Thank you so much for sticking to issues despite the friendly fire. We appreciate your input. Always a pleasure to host you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Looking forward to other deliberations. CPA Julius Ruto, Member of Parliament Keses, Stephen Mule, Member of Parliament Matungulu, and John Kagusha, the Member of Parliament Mukurweini constituency. It was a pleasure. Hope you're adequately informed. My name is Jesse Rogers. Enjoy the rest of your viewing. Good evening.
Thank you.